Yeah, we had a have had a great opportunity to really kind of go back to Camp Miami. Really, I've had player meetings and film with every player. Um, Met with the leaders, analyzed our offensive woes, analyzed combinations and lineups and stuff like that. So it's been I don't believe I've ever had this much time between games where we were home and not traveling and really get back to the basics. So it's been a long layoff. We're excited to play again. I got a couple more practices where we can get after it a little bit before we start preparing, but very necessary and really, we've got some new emergences, which I think are really going to add some energy to the team. And it's a matter of finding minutes for the people that are playing really well, and then the people that are, not starting the game with big energy and stuff. They're not going to have that cushion anymore. So there's going to be a big shift in our team, I think, coming up the next three games.
Is that something that, as a coach, I mean, I obviously never like to lose games, but
Right.
that you'd like to be able to hang over a player that
No, I don't like that at all. If you look at my history and my teams, I mean, my starting lineups don't change. I just, there's been tryouts, right? And it's changing. It changes for different reasons. It's sometimes, very rarely, the matchup of another opponent, but most of the time, it's going to come down to who makes Miami play the best. Right now, when you delve really deep into the analytics, our plus minus number one player is Jameer Houston. When she's in, Miami's winning by plus 12.8. I don't think anyone in the naked eye would see that, right? But Jameer's been doing the stuff that's making us work. Her stats aren't, starter stats really, but her plus minus that jumps out at the page. So those are some things that I think I need my upperclassmen to have a little bit more awareness of and a little bit more urgency about. Like, I don't care. Is Miami winning when you're in? Then you're going to be in.
What is it that she does that we're not seeing on the stat sheets?
Talks us through plays, sets and uses screens, communicates, and rebounds. I mean, her rebounding numbers are. It would be if she were to play 40 minutes, and I do my stats per 40 minutes, and if she were to play 40 minutes, she would average 16 rebounds, 8 offensive, 8 defensive. So when you only play 10 minutes for us, I'll multiply your stats by 4. And then we'll figure out what your per 40-minute averages is, and that's where I really decide, when I have this much time to do some analytics, I'm like, okay, well, let me work Jameer in more. That's obvious. She's doing a nice job for us. So.
Coach L relies a lot on analytics.
Yeah.
Like a total numbers.
Yeah.
Are you? Have you always been into analytics?
Yes,
Yeah.
I have. I share them with my team on like 3 occasions of the year during this break, and then midway through when we have the bye week in the ACCs. And then 4, because preseason and postseason. I don't get too much into it as well because but lineups for sure, and who's making us work. That's really important. That's a really big part of our culture. Not so much individual, but as an individual, is Miami better because you're here? That's a big deal to me.
you said this is probably the longest layoff
Yeah.
you've had between games.
Mm-hmm.
You kind of draw as much from the benefits of that and guard against the downfalls.
Yeah, right. The downfalls, the first, gosh, we'll be rusty. I mean, we really will. It's always funny because my team's final exam week, everyone's like, oh, it's finals. It's usually the week before finals where we are not sleeping, where all the projects are due, where their brains are foggy, and that Indiana game hit us right then. I mean, no excuses. But they have so much energy now. I mean, finals ended, but after that game, things lightened up for the team. But that was a tough. We just were zombies. I mean, we really didn't play well. We really didn't have an intent and a purpose. And so that's bad for them because then I got them for 2 weeks. That was a bad day for them.
Can you talk about B's performance so far? She had all these preseason accolades.
Yeah.
Can she do more?
Oh, heck yeah. Her turnover numbers are, that's the first thing you got to talk about when you sit down with her. She's getting the attention. And if she could pass out of the double team better, then she wouldn't get doubled. It's not that they're doubling her at this point to stop her from scoring. It's more so she's giving the ball back. And so we've had a lot of conversations about that. And Beatrice she's a warrior. Like, this isn't. I'm not talking bad about Beatrice. The numbers that she has with the attention she's getting are great. It's just that one number is really hurting us. Her assist to turnover ratio, and we're on it.
And one thing that shouldn't be too difficult for her, just be more aggressive, right?
Yeah, well, sometimes being more aggressive in a double team is the biggest mistake. So be more composed. All right. Sometimes going harder isn't the answer. And I do have quite a few players on my team that's their response, and I like that about them. I mean, my God, my teams always play hard, right? But the way people are playing us with this particular team, going harder sometimes is going right into the trap, right into the mess,
You just added Stroman to your staff. How
Yeah.
special is that to have her back on?
It's really meaningful, and I've had a little bit more of a pep in my step just to have someone that understands and knows the standards and the culture, and she can't coach, but she can observe, and her observations have been great.
How did that come to be? And what is your job exactly?
So every year we have. First of all, I want to thank my administration, because I'm a firm believer, as you can tell, of like not only graduating players but graduating coaches. I mean, and there's just not, in women's basketball there are not opportunities. Men's basketball too. There are not opportunities for entry-level positions. They don't exist. They're not allowed to do a lot. A graduate school here is very expensive, so a GA becomes a heck of a financial burden. But there are opportunities to be what's called like a casual worker. It's almost like an internship kind of deal. And they're very limited in what they can do, but you can't tell them they can't sit in staff meeting, and they can sit and film, they can't instruct, but there's a lot of limits. But it's launched Carolyn Keeger, it's launched Michaela Mabry. That was the first thing that Mabry did, and now she's on Notre Dame's bench, and Keeger's the head coach at Penn State. Vernette Skeet, who's at Marquette, had that position for me. Yeah, so it goes on and on. So Kelly Daniels did it last year, an ex-player of mine at Charlotte, and now she's coaching on a court. So it's one of those things where you can't be on the court, but you can see the ins and outs, and I believe in that. So we had an extra spot that I hadn't filled, and Stroh was in town, and we were talking. I always like it to be an ex-player at some level. Mabry played for me at USA, so Kelly played for me at Charlotte, Stroman. So, yeah, we just had several conversations. She decided not to go play overseas anymore. So I said, well, I have a proposal for you. So that was great.
What makes her the kind of person or the kind of player that you think she's got insight for coaching?
Well, her mom was an incredible high school coach. Morgan was, trying to get into coaching on her own and doing as much as she could. I've been keeping my eye on her. Morgan just shut her mouth and played hard. I mean, she just played so hard. Just shut her mouth, played hard, took coaching, and went to work. And, I felt like that would be a good influence.
3 losses have come to a ranked team.
Yeah.
Obviously, you want to win those games.
Yeah.
I mean, how much does that help just facing that caliber of opponent before you get into ACC?
Well, we needed to. I mean, trying to figure out the Oregon State and Indiana defensive game plan was very similar. So that's why I was frustrated at Indiana. Because we had the lesson already from Oregon State. They played very similar. They're very good defensive teams. I mean, both those teams hold people. DePaul, they like to score, and they let you score. That game was great. I was fine with the DePaul game. We were flowing. We were playing hard. We made a couple errors, but we were fine. But the Indiana and Oregon State required a little bit more discipline, a lot more discipline, a little bit more sophistication. And we just kind of played the same way. And so I just need another game. I need another game. I gotta see us perform again. Practices, I promise you, the 2 practices leading up to those 2 games, I went home that night and said, the hay's in the barn. Like, we're good. We got this. We got the game plan. We know why we're gonna do. We're gonna get. And then on the game day, it just we just didn't have the discipline. We didn't.